It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Matot-Masei, Mishpacha-State. Over the years, we've discussed what the major theme of the book of Bamidbar is. And we've claimed many times that one of the major themes is the theme of the Nisim. We see over and again the emphasis on the role of the Nisim, who are Nisiyim, the leaders of each tribe. So much so that the names of the leaders are mentioned 6 times in the first 2 parshiot. So much so that it was the Nisiyim who were the sinners in the middle of the book, when everything kind of falls apart. Sin of the spies, Nisiyim, leaders, sin of Korach, Nisiyei Da, leaders. At the end of the book, Nisiyim reassume the great role that they're meant to play. They adjudicate the cases, they settle the land, they're in charge, together with Moshe and Elazar the Kohen, they're in charge of all adjudication, all legal matters. The leadership is a unified leadership, and it is a collective and cooperative leadership, not just Moshe, not just Elazar the Kohen, Gadol, but also the Nisim, a leader from each tribe. This was our emphasis for many years. However, this year I thought it was important to emphasize another important theme that goes together with it, namely the notion of Mishpacha. We look at the beginning of Bamidbar, they were told to count the Jews, L'mishpachotechem, that they should count according to their families. Now, it doesn't actually say there in Bamidbar, in the first parsha of the book of Bamidbar, that they did count according to families, but in the final census, in last week's parsha, Parshat Pinchas, there they counted Mishpachat this, Mishpachat that, Mishpachat Levniv, Nachar Shimi, and they mention actually the word Mishpachat appears 94 times. 57 different families are mentioned. It's unbelievable, the tremendous emphasis in chapter 26, Parshat Pinchas, the emphasis on Mishpacha, family. And the book begins that you should count according to families, and the final count is also according to families. And then, just to show that this book indeed is so focused on family, the book ends on family. It began with that you should sue at Rosh HaKodah ben Yisrael, Mishpachotechem. Let's take a look right there. Parshat Bamidbar, at the very beginning. What does it say? Sue at Rosh HaKodah ben Yisrael, L'mishpachotam, L'veit avotam. You should count them according to their mishpachot. And how does the book end? That's one of the very first verses in the entire book. How does the book end? The family of the tribe of Menashe were upset that the daughters of Tzlafchad, who were given rights to their father's property since there were no other brothers that they only had sisters, so they were given special rights to the land. But they were worried about the part of the tribe being taken away if they would marry someone from another tribe. So Moshe works it out that if they marry outside the tribe, then they would lose the land. But the final verses say, they did marry from the Mishpacha of Menashe. And they were indeed counted among the tribe, but it doesn't say tribe, it says the tribe of the family of their father. In other words, we have something called a nation state, right? You think of ourselves, Jewish people, we have a nation state. Nation of King David, he had a nation state. But it's also a Mishpacha-State. It's a state that is organized according to Mishpacha. We are to see ourselves as a Mishpacha. And in Mishpacha, in a family, you help each other. You help out. You're connected. And that's how the book ends, that indeed the Tzlafchad and his daughters will stick to the Mishpacha, to the family. It begins with family and it ends on family. This notion of Nisim, the leaders of the tribes, and this notion of Mishpacha are related. Because when the dynamic in the family, and the family we'll call it the Mishpacha-State of Israel, when the dynamic in the family is that it's just Moshe doing it all on his own. Again, in the low point of Bamidbar, in the middle of Parshat Ba'alotcha, he says, Kasher Yisad HaOmen, what am I, some sort of nurse? And I'm carrying the Jewish people who are like a baby, and I have to suckle them? What is this? And you say to yourself, what kind of complaint is that? What is he saying? He's saying that I have become the overachieving father of this nation, and everyone else is underachieving. Because in family dynamics, if you think about the family, the family theory of the Bowman family theory, if one party acts out, it has an impact on all the others. So if one party overachieves, if Moshe is doing everything by himself, he's getting atonement, he's the only one who's listening to God, everyone else kind of acts out in the opposite. They play the same role. Oh, you're the only one in charge, so we act out. However, if you can get everyone involved through the Nesiim, then through the leaders of each tribe, then the Mishpacha comes together much more. The notion of Mishpacha plays itself out in Matot-Masei, this double parsha, in a number of places. If we think about the Masaot, there's a list of all the places they went. And Rashi makes the Mishpacha analogy. He says, if you went with your son to a few places when they were little, and then you come back when you get older, and you say, when we were little, this is where you played with your blocks, and this is where we did this. It's a Mishpacha analogy. It's saying that Moshe is now taking the Mishpacha on a memory lane. This is where we've been. This is a travelogue of all the places we've been. You remember that? And as Rav Amnon Bazak says, the main event was the death of Aaron. As it recounts all the places they went. They went here, they went there. But one of the things it emphasizes was Aaron died. Because as a Mishpacha, that's very serious. Aaron died, that everybody cried, everybody mourned for him because we are a Mishpacha. In the Jewish people, when one person is lost, the whole nation cries. When a beloved person like Aaron died, that was very serious. So the major event is the death of Aaron because we are indeed a Mishpacha. Reuven and Gad said, we're going to stay on this side of the Jordan. Moshe goes berserk because it's a Mishpacha. You got to stay with the Mishpacha. You got to help out your Mishpacha. You can't just take the land, we like it on this side, we'll just stay over here. You've got to participate. You've got to join the army. And when the Kohen Gadol, they say if someone kills someone by mistake, so he has to stay there until the high priest dies. What does that got to do with it? Well, the high priest is connected to everyone else. There's a link. We're a Mishpacha. When the high priest dies, it's like a very emotional event for the entire people that everyone repents, everyone is so sad because we're connected, we're emotionally connected. There's a bond between all the different people in our nation. In this parsha of Matot, not only ends on Mishpacha, but the theme of Nesiim runs throughout. It's the only parsha addressed to the Rashi Matot. It's the only parsha called Matot that's addressed. The halachic section, the laws are addressed to the tribal leaders. Why? Because the tribal leaders are so important. It's part of the Mishpacha to get everyone involved. We have a war against Midian. Who adjudicates what should be given, donated? How do you fight the war? The Moshe, Elazar has to stay home, but Pinchas, who's the war Kohen, and the Nesiim, the leaders. You have to give out the land. We have new Nesiim. This parsha actually has the new Nesiim, the new leaders of the tribe that will give out the land. And as we said, Reuven and Gad, they requested a land for their Mishpacha, and finally, the Bnot Slavcha, daughters of Slavcha, they have to stay in the Mishpacha if they want to keep the integrity of their tribe of Menashe and all the different tribes intact. So we've discovered sort of a new theme, that the book of, yes, it's a book of nationhood, of building a nation that's more democratic, that where everyone's involved. That from the very outset, Moshe is told that the leaders of each tribe, Nachshon ben Aminadav and all the Elitzur ben Shtior, all the different leaders of the tribes, they must be with Moshe to help him along. It's true, the Nesiim, so important, but it's not just Nesiim, not just involvement of the masses. It's involvement because we are a Mishpacha, and we're organized according to Mishpacha, not only according to tribe, which is such a big organization, but even according to family. There are particular families, like Machir ben Menashe, different Menashe families, other families that are described at length in Parshat Pinchas, because The Jewish nation is not just a nation state, but it is a Mishpacha-State. It's a state in which we all feel like Mishpacha, like close family, each one emotionally connected to the other. At the same time, we all have to play our role, not just Moshe, the leaders of each tribe, and every Mishpacha plays an important role in making the Jewish nation a Mishpacha-State. Thank you for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation for our discussion of Parshat Matot-Masei. Join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the holidays. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.